Hi, I'm back with a different kind of video, one that I never really did on this channel before. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoy these kinds of videos, as I am super excited to share this topic with all of you. Also, yes, I know that my microphone is pretty bad, and that's because I don't exactly have a microphone yet. Hoping to get one sometime, but for now, just have to sit here in the closet and hope for the best. So yeah. Anyways, let's get back on topic. It's no secret that Pokémon Legends Arceus is a very well-received game, and I can see why. It's a lot of fun. Hell, it might as well be my favorite Pokémon game, though while I will always cherish the Gen 7 games, Legends Arceus is my #1 favorite, and a lot of people's as well, I've noticed. And not too long since Legends Arceus was revealed, about a year back or so, I couldn't help but wonder how a Legends game based on Alola would be like. There's been a few videos and blogs talking about possible Legends games that would be set in different regions, but I've almost always been disappointed how many of them seem to not give the Alolan sect justice in my opinion. So you know what? I'll do it myself. It's so surprising at this point that Alola is my favorite region. Its scenery is very beautiful and has a lot of potential for a game set in earlier times. There isn't too much about Alola's past, but I'd say enough for a foundation. I already know quite a bit about Alola already, and I mean, why wouldn't I know a lot about my favorite region? And yeah, doing some more research, there really isn't all that much in the past for us to work with. What is even more annoying is how there's hardly any information to work with online. I've looked in wikis for the Alola region and pretty much got some mostly vague information. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough. Either way, I hope to be proven wrong. If you happen to have a good source where I can learn all the bits and pieces of Alola's past and lore, feel free to let me know in the comments. Or even DM me on Discord if you want. I really don't mind. I guess I went on a bit of a rant there, so let's get back to the good stuff. And keep in mind that not everything here is completely final. I can very much change things up if it needs to be. So let's talk about the title, if, hopefully, Legends Arceus is not a one-off thing. We clearly know that the game title comes from a prominent legendary and/or mythical Pokemon, because obviously, Arceus is an extremely important figure in the Sinnoh or Hisui region. Arceus is literally God, how can it not be? So what about Alola? What are some of the more important legendary or mythical Pokemon there? The first thing that comes to my mind are the Island Guardians. They are very important to the Alolan people, with each island worshipping their respective Tapu. However, Legends Tapus or Legends Islands Guardians just doesn't have a ring to the name. It sounds weird and unnatural. So there are some other important Pokemon that we can use instead? Luckily, there very much is! Necrozma! Necrozma is a pretty important legendary and also Ultra Beast, specifically in the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon game. There's a lot of untapped potential with Necrozma in an ancient Alola setting, don't you think? And I gotta say, Legends Necrozma sounds like an awesome and intriguing title. Don't worry though, the Island Guardians are still going to play a huge role in the story. How could I do them dirty? They are literally my favorite group of legendary Pokemon. But I digress. So, Legends Necrozma it is! I'd say that is a pretty solid title, with Necrozma being a decent focus of my game concept. I should probably mention that I have not yet fully realized and fleshed out the plot and story. That is still in progress and will take some time if I want to turn out at least decent. With that out of the way, let's discuss some things that I've already established. Keep in mind that everything I'll say can be changed if I feel like it is unsatisfactory. To start off, what kind of starters would there be? Well, I wanted starters to be from different regions from the ones in Legends Arceus. So no starters from Unova, Johto, and Alola. The last one's kind of obvious why. The Alolan starters would definitely be obtainable later on either way. I also don't want there to be a Sinnoh starter since the last game took place in Hisui. Plus I want to shine lights on other regions as well. That narrows down to Kanto, Hoenn, Kalos, and Galar. So after growing all the starters, I decided to have Trico, Fennekin, and Sobble. I'm not too sure how their final evolutions or even typings would be yet, but I'm hoping to get that figured out sometime later. Well, to be fair, I'm not exactly focused on designing Pokemon right now either, as I never have made Pokemon before, and that's something I would need to get a lot of outsiders' opinions in order for it to look at least decent. So for now, I am more so focusing on the story, plot, characters, world building, etc. Though I do have a few ideas for Pokemon. For example, I'm certain that I want there to be new forms for the Island Guardians. There's no reason for me not to give them one. It'll be super cool, though I have no idea what they would be as of now. Another thing is Ultra Beast. They will play a pretty big part in the story as well, so I would definitely want to introduce some new UBs. For regular Pokemon, I do only have one idea for now. I definitely want there to be an evolution of our Oricorio. I've grown to really appreciate this Pokemon, and like a lot of people, I do hope to see it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But I digress. The way that an Oricorio can change its dance style as well as the typing is really awesome. I feel like it could really benefit by having an evolution, one that can also change into different forms. Well, that's all I have for now when it comes to new Pokemon or forms, but stay tuned in the future and I'll be able to go more in depth about this topic. The next thing I want to discuss about Legends of Necrozma is how Alola was in the past, since it does have quite a few differences from the modern day region. So let's go over what I have so far. It's not exactly known how many years ago the story of Legends Arceus takes place. I personally speculated to take place from the mid to late 1800s. That's obviously not canon, but it does make the most sense to me. I'm not going to hide how long Legends of Necrozma took place, and in general, I'm not going to make any unreasonable mysteries with unanswered questions because that ain't cool. I'm getting off topic though. Pretty much Legends of Necrozma is going to take place over 200 years before Sun and Moon or the Ultra Games. It doesn't really matter. I'd say during the 1800 to 1820. I might make a specific year, but I'm not too sure. The reason why I chose this specific time in history is because this is around the time where foreign people recently started settling in Hawaii in real life. Obviously, not all of history will be completely accurate to real life since this is a Pokemon universe. Realism and complete accuracy is needed, but some references to real life history definitely doesn't hurt and has been used in the Pokemon universe before as well. So far, I really only established the time. But how exactly was Alola 200 years different compared to modern day? One of the differences is how the Island Challenge did not yet exist, at least in the main story. I might include how the Island Challenge was formed in the post-game, but I'm not too sure yet actually. I guess I'll have to see later. As well as hearing what you guys think of that idea. Because the Island Challenge did not yet exist, that means Shadow Captains aren't a thing either. Kahunas definitely are though. In fact, they pretty much existed ever since the very first people had settled in the islands. Obviously, that is not a canon statement. That is just what I personally think and something I want to apply to my story. The Island Kahunas had some differences too. Since the Island Challenges aren't the thing, the Kahunas didn't battle trainers. They were more so caretakers of the island, and they pretty much speak for their respective tabus. I mean, the modern day Island Kahunas do this too, but in the past they were pretty much known as looking after their island and not about battling trainers. Before certain characters moved to Alola who happened to be Pokemon wielders, which by the way is an older term for Pokemon trainers, it was also used in Legends Arceus. And pretty much when the protagonist and a few other characters also began to engage in Pokemon battles, as well as to survey the region. So in a nutshell, people using Pokemon to battle outside the Kahunas was practically unheard of in the beginning of the story. More of a taboo concept than trainers in Hisui. People of Alola were always close to Pokemon, but not in a way by battling with them in the beginning. Some Pokemon would assist with some tasks. A few others would even keep them as pets, so they definitely were not as separated compared to the people of Hisui. However, there were still plenty of dangerous Pokemon that wouldn't be wise to come across without your own Pokemon. Many people were still wary and did not leave far from their settlements in order to avoid those situations. If the regular people left far away from where their settlement was, for whatever reason, they were either armed or had a Kahuna accompanying them. As stated earlier in the video, I said there was a limited amount of information about Alola's past. In fact, it's even stated why that is in the games, because apparently the Alolan King at the time had burned most of the books that talked about Necrozma previously visiting Alola in the past in order to not freak out people? That's an interesting choice, but at the same time, it sounds like that's something a real-life ruler might do. In fact, the stories of Legends of Necrozma is going to center around what happened that caused the king to even burn the books written about what happened, just to learn what happened about the forgotten story and heroes, and why it was attempted to be censored. I believe that all I would like to share about how the Alolan Kingdom was around like 200... What was that sentence? I meant... That's all I would like to share about how the Alolan Kingdom was like around 200 years ago. Oh, I forgot to mention that most people, specifically the native Alolans back then, called the region the Alolan Kingdom. Well, because it was ruled by monarchs back then. Though there are a few, usually foreigners, who simply called it the Alola region. One final thing I want to talk about before I wrap this video up is a little bit about the protagonists as well as some of the early story, but not too much of it, since I don't think it's ready to be shared yet. Neither am I going to reveal too much about the characters yet because 1. I have not created a design for the protagonist to satisfy me yet. It's not easy trying to create a Hawaiian and or Polynesian inspired outfits while making sure to make it look practical for an adventure as well as it being respectful to the culture, so yeah, please bear with me. And 2. Talking about my protagonist and other main characters would be a lengthy enough video to be made into its own. So even though I really want to share some of them, it would be better off for me to hold off and tweak them a little more still. Okay, now that I got that little disclaimer out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. So, unlike Legends Arceus, the protagonist doesn't get isekai'd into the past. Instead, they pretty much live in the time period their entire life. So yeah, I decided to go from a different path from Legends Arceus because, well, not all Legends games have to follow the same exact format. I can change some things up without it being a completely different thing. That's not to say that our protag won't go through some wacky shenanigans that happen in the Pokemon world. So pretty much, the protagonist is just hanging out, staying up late with practically the rest of the village sleeping, and they suddenly notice this huge amount of light pouring outside the village. Being curious, they went outside to see that it was an ultra wormhole that opened into an ultra beast, which by the way is a brand new one that I'm hoping to conceptualize and design sometime soon, had suddenly appeared and attacked it. It wasn't a fatal one, and in fact, it was a move that can trigger sleep like hypnosis or sleep powder. This ultra beast pretty much kidnapped the protagonist into the ultra space. Keep in mind, the protagonist and literally everyone else in the beginning had no idea what the hell ultra wormholes, ultra beasts, and ultra space was. 3 weeks later, they wake up on a complete different side of their island, not remembering a single thing that happened while in ultra space. And that's all I'm going to reveal for now, because damn do I love to create cliffhangers and to torture you guys. Again, this isn't final, but I'm liking the beginning. Cutscene, if you will? I think it's a pretty interesting way to start out the beginning, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, and for any feedback. Always appreciated. Alright, I believe I covered everything I wanted to, and I'm definitely planning to make more videos in the future discussing some more things about this game concept, as I do feel really passionate about this. And I'm hoping to find more people who like to see concepts for future Legends games set in other regions. It's always a treat to see. If you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Angel and I do pretty much whatever the hell is on my channel, though I mostly do art things and meme edits, the latter of which gets more views than my art stuff, which is a shame to be sure. Oh well, if you like what you saw and want to stay tuned for more stuff about Legends of Krasma, or interested in my stuff in general, feel free to check out my other videos, or even subscribe to my channel. I have a Discord server that I created not too long ago, where you can chat with me since I'm pretty active on there either way. Also, this video is mostly PG, but FYI that a good chunk of my videos definitely aren't and are not suitable for anyone under 13. Even 13 is sometimes a little too young. However, I do mark all my videos to be over 13 anyways. This is probably going to be the only time on a video where I warn people for my target audience, but I feel like this is the kind of video that is appropriate to mention it. Alright, pretty sure that's everything. I'll see you guys sometime later. I don't exactly have a consistent upload schedule right now. Bye! And like a lot of people, I do hope to see in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Shit.